The granddaddy of survival horror returns once again to go and take its throne, pick up its crown, place it upon its head, and say, I'm the motherfucker that helped build this house that you all know and love. It's Alone in the Dark. Yes, for the millionth reboot that has occurred, and we have to go and ignore things like Illumination because Jesus fucking tap dancing Christ, what the fuck was that mess? And we don't want to talk about the movies because we already know how bad they are. You should watch them though. They are so bad, they are fucking hilarious. Though depressing just because of the name that's associated with it. But THQ Nordic is bringing back, for its 30th anniversary by the way, which I completely forgot that much time has passed since the OG Alone in the Dark came out, but the 30th anniversary for Alone in the Dark is well upon us. This year, no less. I think that this is cause for celebration because this is a franchise that's kind of just been left by the wayside due to mistreatment and mishandling to a comical yet very fucking depressing degree. I mean, if you played the original Alone in the Dark back in the day on MS-DOS and you enjoyed the shit out of it, you understand how important, how integral of a game it was, how unique, and how nothing was even remotely like that. It took several years after that for us to get the OG of Resident Evil. When that came out, granted, you know, it picked tons of different things from Alone in the Dark, but we can't go and ignore the fact that if it wasn't for Alone in the Dark, we wouldn't have a lot of things that we do today. It was just this interesting domino effect that ended up changing the landscape of how we play games, how we enjoy the medium in general, but this title doesn't ever get that recognition. I mean, sure, it's not going to be completely ignored and there's plenty of fans out there, but compared to Resident Evil, I mean, honestly, everybody knows about motherfucking Jill sandwiches and then some, but does everybody know about Edward and Emily going through a big old fucking manor and dealing with some of the most fucked up stuff that they'd ever seen with their low polygonal faces intact? No, a lot of people don't. I mean, shit, I played the original Alone in the Dark on PS1, after Resident Evil and after Silent Hill. This was kind of like culture shock in a lot of ways. Like, it fucked my head up because I was like, this shit's so slow. Why do the zombies look like that? This isn't fucking scary at all. Did I just fall through that goddamn floor and die? I haven't saved. Why is all this stuff happening? What's going on in that fucking ballroom over there? I don't want to deal with those fucking dancing assholes again because I got the puzzle wrong. There's so many things that had happened, and I just... Look, I love the original Alone in the Dark, but the fact that I didn't get to play it before Resident Evil and before Silent Hill kind of fucked up the way that I played it. Now I can go back and appreciate it and enjoy it for what it is. And it only takes a couple hours to go through the game. It's genuinely a fun little romp. I like the hand-drawn backgrounds. I think that they're fucking incredible. Really good looking. The music, also very good. And it's kind of a crazy-ass game. Like, it really is. It takes elements from different adventure games from way back in ye olden PC times, and then it was trying to apply actual horror and scary shit, except for the monsters don't look scary at all. Like, what's the thing that jumps through the window? Like, honestly, because it looks like it's part platypus, and it looks like it's part, like, werewolf, and also kind of, like, just... What is this? It's like a weird amalgamation of things, like Frankenstein's fuckery just found its way into this manor, and all of a sudden you're just like, oh, well, you know, it's gonna come kill you. And then zombies are coming up out of the floor, and you're just like, wait a minute. But he's got a shotgun, so everything's okay. Edward's strapped, everybody's fine. We're getting a remake of this shit, and I think it's hilarious to think back to this game and the idea of just taking that and just putting it out there for people just with like nicer graphics, but they're not doing that. They're completely reimagining and doing this shit from the ground up. Shit, they even got the writer from Amnesia and Soma to be on board with this. So just given my personal experience with both of those games, I'm just like, this actually could end up being really badass. They're talking about wanting to delve deeper into all the elements of Southern Gothic, and I'm just like, okay, we can totally do this. It genuinely warms my heart that we get to return to all of the events in Derceto Manor. Because this was something that I kept on wondering, why is it that every single new entry and every reboot and every other thing that decides to drag the name of Alone in the Dark through the fucking mud, why couldn't we go back to all of the elements of the original game, the original trilogy even, and just work off of that? For whatever reason, it seemed like Atari had no fucking idea whatsoever of what to do with this franchise. But with this reboot right here, THQ Nordic knows what the fuck they're doing apparently, and we are getting to return there. And not only do we get to play as two different characters, the way that it should be, with Edward and Emily, both are going to have completely different perspectives on the story and how all the events unfold, so that makes you want to go and replay the game. Again, something I like a whole lot, and any survival horror enthusiast already knows that's the type of shit that you want to hear. And what do we get? We have tons of fucked up monsters. I'm talking about absolute, just... they are abominations. Like, I don't know how else to really describe it, but it's just like lumps of flesh that are just coming after you and trying to kill you. It's like, oh. I mean, it's a lot better than the green and red zombies that they had that would shamble around like this. That really weren't scary. I mean, they look like something from Party City that you would use as a fucking piñata. And frankly, you know, with the low polygonal count on there, how much detail can you really apply to it? Some people laugh and scoff at the idea of the zombies from the OG Resident Evil. Let me introduce you to these fucking things right here. And shit, if you look at Edward in the game, I mean, it's, every time I looked at him, he just looks like a ship from Star Fox. There's only like a couple different folds to his head. That's really about it. And the way that he walks around like this everywhere that he's going, I'm just like, guy, you don't look like you're bothered even in the slightest with half this shit going and trying to kill you or put you on a fucking altar if you go and fuck up really bad. Which, by the way, one of the best game over screens of all time is from the original Alone in the Dark. I love that shit. But we're getting to play this in an entirely new generation. We get to introduce this series to an entirely new generation, and that's something I like a lot, and I'm hoping, seriously, fucking fingers crossed, that we can get people to play the original game. And they will probably laugh, because admittedly, it's fucking goofy and silly when you do go back to it. I mean, shit, and when you go and play the sequels, all of a sudden, there really isn't nearly as many monsters, which is something that bothered the shit out of me when I played the second game, because I remember being excited about it, but it was like, why is there so many human enemies? These motherfuckers are strapped, they got guns, they're coming after you and shit, and I'm just like, where are the monsters? Why is it? What? It's not dark, by the way, and I'm never alone, so would you just... that's a lie. It just annoyed the shit out of me, and it seemed whimsical. It did. Like, it seemed like this was some shit from a LucasArts adventure game from the time, and it would make more sense. I'm just like, dude, it's... why? Well, why the fuck... why this change? But from watching the gameplay trailer for this and all the alpha footage that they had out, it looks like they're plucking from all three games of the original Alone in the Dark trilogy. And I was just like, this is interesting, because so far we're seeing like actual levels and characters and shit from there. Like little girl that they had showed up in there, that all the fucking spookiness, fucking dolls being hung from the ceiling. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that she's from Alone in the Dark too. And I was like, dude, this is fucking cool. And it makes sense because, I mean, the original, seriously, you can beat that in like, what, 2 or 3 hours, some shit like that. It does not take very long to beat the game. Like, if you know what you're doing, dude, you can just blow through the game like nothing else. And even if you don't, it's genuinely only a couple hours long. But this was a groundbreaking game for the time, so, I mean, it was kind of a big deal. But now, we've got this new one coming out, all the shit that they showed off, like, I can't lie, I really did want pre-rendered backgrounds and shit, and fixed camera angles and shit. Like, I wanted it to be done up like that, like the Resident Evil remake, but done for Alone in the Dark. But over the shoulder, I can't really complain, because if you saw half this shit shambling about, breaking through walls and coming after you and stuff, they look horrific. They look fucked up. They don't look like anything that you'd really want to deal with. I'm hoping that we can still kind of use those elements from the original, like, you know, you go and you push some shit in front of a window, now they can't break through the window, or, you know, you go and stop them from coming through a trapdoor or some shit. I'm also hoping that there is, like, some straight up instant death scenes, because, like I said, like, as a kid, I was pissed. I was fucking mad, raging like a motherfucker, but it didn't take away from the fact that it was something where you had to stay on your toes, and you remembered that shit. You remembered, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna die right there, I have to go and find another path, or I have to do this puzzle perfectly, or else I'm done for. That's it. Don't go out the actual manor front door, by the way. That's another thing. Like, see, in Resident Evil, it was okay. You were just fine. You got spooked by the dog, but that was all. In Alone in the Dark, no, they take no prisoners. They are not fucking around. And in this, I'm just kind of curious, like, if that's going to be the same exact deal. There was, one of the things that I liked about it was, I kept on thinking about the way that the, like, original graphics for Alone in the Dark 1 look, and it's really colorful, like, it's kind of garish colors if you look at, like, greens and reds and blues, but, like, the most fucking ugly, you're going to grandmother's house versions of them, and I was just like, man, it's a really colorful game, and you don't see that kind of style. They managed to take some of this and still apply it to this remake, where it still kind of has a signature look. So everything's not just browns and grays and really fucking dull and lifeless looking, and I'm glad for that, because that was something I enjoyed about it. Like, the atmosphere that they had for this shit, the entire trailer, everything, like, the ambience, I fucking dig this. Like, I do. It looks so good. Like, whether or not it's going to play like a top-tier game and going to be amazing remains to be seen, but the actual atmosphere itself, I think they've nailed. And I'm just like, more of this, please. I love that kind of shit. Hell, that one scene where Edward's going and walking down the hall and everything starts melting and coming down, and you're just like, oh, for real? Yeah, no, everything's fucked up. I'm good. No, thank you. Don't need that. I like that. The bodies that they had down in the one area that were all writhing and starting to go and come to life while they're inside these little fucking sacks, you're just like, nah, I'm good. I'm just gonna... See, nope. Nobody wants to deal with that. Nobody wants to go and run into some shit. I mean, you remember the little monster dog that I said I couldn't figure out exactly what kind of combination of things that it was? Well, they've got some shit like that, except for this... I still can't figure out what it's supposed to be. Scary, that seems big gaping maw that's coming after you, and again, shotgun is your best friend. I wish I had a bit more oomph to it. That'll be one of my criticisms. Look, to me, all shotguns should sound devastating and just absolute destruction coming out of two barrels. That's how it should always be. I think this one, it needs a bit more every time that you go and you pull that trigger and you just watch slugs fly. I just need you to understand that shotguns are very vital and important in all survival horror games. Anyway, I'm nitpicking. Not like it even fucking matters. The music. I should mention the music. The music for this, like, it sounded like, you know, we got some cool jazz shit going on. I was just like, okay, this fucking fits, you know, the actual era, because this is back in the 1920s. I'm just like, alright, I like this, I like the direction, because I do like jazz. But, I was actually reminded, like, did it sound like Deadly Premonition music to you? Like, I swear it sounds like the exact same composer and shit, even the same composition. I was just like, dude, that sounds like Deadly Premonition. And, dude, I would be fucking so giddy if somehow, like, these worlds got linked together. I just want York to show up in more games in general. If this motherfucker can get, like, modded into Super Smash Brothers and, like, he throws coffee and shit at people, I would be so fucking happy. Like, he's gotta have Zack as a stand with him whenever he's just, like, hovering over him like that. It'd be great. I'm sorry, I have no attention span whatsoever, and I get lost very easily. Anyhow, the stage design in general is absolutely nailed. Like, I liked some of the areas that look like that they were, like, waterlogged and just submerged in tons of different shit, and I was just like, that looks spooky, that looks scary. Some of the statues that they had that were all creepy, and it didn't look like just the millionth game to include mannequins in some way that you know they're going to come after you, and it's just like, yes, I get it, blah, 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 blah. When am I going to turn around and they're all fucking closer and shit? We've seen it a million times. This, I liked it just because it was just, they were fucked up looking statues. That was about it. It made me think about some of the ones I had seen in like Edward Scissorhands and Beetlejuice and shit. That A-okay with me. I do like that bunch. But over-the-shoulder, third-person survival horror, and we're getting a reboot of a franchise that has been dormant for far too long, bringing it back to the forefront of gaming, celebrating the 30th anniversary, and it seems like everybody that has talked about it has been really excited. I love this kind of shit. I love the positivity. This is something that I've been wanting to see because for far too long, it's been Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and a million other different things. Alone in the Dark deserves its time to shine. That's just how it is. Like, if you played the originals back in the day, you'd understand this shit is very important. Like, A New Nightmare for me, that was my favorite. Still to this day is my favorite Alone in the Dark game. And I played the fuck out of that back on PlayStation 1. When I got on Dreamcast, played it even more. It is such an incredibly good game. And I made like the 4th installment into it. And after that, it just seemed like they fucked up and fucked up and fucked up. And I'm like, why do you do this? Like, you nailed it with this one. Why couldn't you build off the success of that? And by the way, it sold a lot. Why couldn't you do that? And instead, it was just stupid, gimmicky, dumb, physics-based bullshit with some of the worst voice acting in the entire world. None of it was scary. It was just bad. And then you had an online shooter? What the fuck were you thinking? And again, I'm talking about Alone in the Dark in the cinematic universe because that shit sucked. But this is the direction that I want to see. I know I should be cautiously optimistic, and I am. And like, to me, my very first response on Twitter was, please be good, please be good, please be good. Because I want to see this shit succeed, and I hope that it does. So anyway, opinions, thoughts, feelings, all that shit, there's a comment section. Go and have some banter about it if you want to go and do that. I have no idea when this game's getting released, by the way. I'm assuming sometime next year, but it would be cool if it actually came out this year. Who the hell knows? TBA and all that shit. The footage looks really good. I can't wait for it and to see what they're going to do with all the elements from the original 3 games and what more they could bring to the table to make it their own. And I'll go and conclude this video. As always, nerds, nerdettes, and gamers, game the fuck on.